union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run. There can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong.
Solidarity forever? I guess we're finishing the song. Welcome, everyone. We'll kick off the meeting. If we could go to the next slide, Sid. So we're very happy to have you here. It's been a very big week for DSA, as you might have known. So welcome to the members, the prospective members, probably some right-wingers who are losing their minds about us winning. Get comfortable, have some water. Today's agenda is hopefully very exciting. We're going to have the DSA 101. Then we're going to have some of our socialists in office, newly elected, and some other guest speakers. And then how we're going to get plugged in after this meeting. I think I am kicking us off. If we could go off to the next slide. Oh. So Denver is a chapter that's very near and dear to my heart. With Milot's big win, the focus has turned to Denver. I used to be Denver chapter co-chair in 2021, 2022. And before we hear all the exciting wins and from all of our great speakers, I want to take us back to 2020. Denver DSA was fighting really hard on so many fronts. The Bernie 2020 campaign had just ended, and the chapter shifted into gear to fight for abolish DPD, where that coalition was able to win some funding for STAR, which is the Support Team Assisted Response, which, if you don't know STAR, it sends paramedics and health workers to help people instead of cops. We were also able to win some reforms. We were also able to help our neighbors with mutual aid, prevent some evictions throughout COVID, and so much more. 2020 was such an intense year for so many of us in DSA that in 2021 across the country, the chapter went quiet. A lot of the leadership burnt out, and the chapter imploded a bit. Some of the committees stopped meeting, work stopped happening. All to say, the times aren't always this good. We're still a very young organization where things change year to year very rapidly. From 2021, Denver started building bit by bit. It wasn't very sexy work. It wasn't very flashy. It was a lot of admin, a lot of people getting involved again, reviving committees, asking people to step into leadership and just start meeting again. Since 2021, Denver has run a lot of campaigns that, a lot of people don't know about. Not just electoral, labor campaigns, housing campaigns, BDS campaigns, coalitions were built, and so much more. Today's wins took a lot of heartbreaking, demoralizing losses. I think a lot of people forget about those, but those losses got us here. From each effort, Denver learned, Denver built, and they grew their chapter. No organizing goes to waste. People want to talk about the ACE's momentum right now. The media wants to ignore the hard organizing work that made these ones happen. So I hope everyone gives Denver DSA's membership their flowers for the incredible work and base that they've built in Denver. Even the quiet times and hard times, the members stayed resilient and they continue to fight. It'll be important that we started yesterday. Milot said something on election night. We will not wait. We will not wait to end the genocide in Gaza. It's been 1,000 days since Israel began its genocide in Gaza, which has now expanded to Lebanon and the entire region as well. It's as urgent today as it was 1,000 days ago. It's our duty and it's our mandate to do everything in our power to put an end to it. These wins mean little if our movement, which requires all of us here, to translate them into action. We need to take these wins and keep going and put an end to this genocide and win back our rights. So you'll hear from many incredible organizers tonight. I'll pass it off to my comrade Haley, who I hope is here, who's also on the National Political Committee with me, and she was also one of the people in Denver in 2021 that we asked to lead our electoral committee and bring it back to life. Haley, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm gonna get yelled at because my screen is vertical because my computer just decided to restart. But hey everyone, Haley, use she, her pronouns. I live in Portland, Oregon right now. Shout out Portland DSA. And just like Ahmed, I'm gonna take us back a little bit through to when I lived in Colorado from 2015 to 2024. In 2019, I joined my first DSA meeting ever. However, it was not a typical meeting. It was actually the Denver DSA endorsement interview for a socialist United States Senate candidate, Lorena Garcia, who was running in the Democratic primary to take out Republican Senator Cory Gardner. And that is the seat that Hickenlooper ended up stealing. I was Lorena's field director at that time. And to be clear, I had close to no idea what I was doing at that time. It was an extremely grassroots, scrappy campaign, but we did what was said to be impossible at the time and built a volunteer base of over 200 people across all 7 congressional districts in Colorado to collect 14,000 signatures from people who wanted to see a socialist on the ballot. During that time, I also joined Lorena for visits with Boulder, Colorado Springs, and Fort Collins DSA, and all of whom ended up endorsing and were a huge part of what made that possible. I joined DSA shortly after that, as soon as the COVID shutdown hit in 2020, and then the Colorado Supreme Court ruled Lorena ineligible for the ballot. However, it was not a coincidence that Hickenlooper had actually appointed a majority of the judges on the Colorado Supreme Court who was able to make that decision. And like I said, he was the other candidate running in the primary. So that campaign taught me I was a socialist, especially thanks to Lorena. But the end of that campaign really taught me what we are actually up against as the working class, which is what we all know. Everything is rigged against us by the billionaire class. And the difference between then and now is we actually have the playbook to win, and we are doing it. We are winning, right? We have all seen establishment Democrats losing their minds. The GOP speaker, Mike Johnson, is practically making propaganda for us by reading our program with, a scary sounding voice. And that is because all across the country, socialists have been notching wins as we present our political vision for things like Medicare for all, an end to climate change, and a true democracy in America. The DSA difference is not just about supporting policies that will benefit the working class. It is also about our mass organizing. And so I'm going to pass it on now to Katie from the MPC, who's going to talk a little bit more about what the DSA difference is and what DSA is all about.
Hello, my name is Katie, and I'm the chair of the National Electoral Commission, which means that I help coordinate our national electoral work and build up the chapter programs that win these huge races like Denver, Philadelphia, and New York City have won in the past couple of weeks, as well as a ton of chapters winning state and city and county races as well. I'm here to talk about like what is DSA, because I think, I hope that some of you have just learned about us and want to understand what's like really going on here. So I'll say I joined DSA myself in 2020 after Joe Biden won his presidential election because I was happy to see Trump get defeated, but I wanted a bigger horizon. Like I knew that wasn't good enough. I knew that we weren't going to get the kinds of economic fairness, climate action, like labor protections, tenant protections, affordable housing that we needed with just Joe Biden in office, and I wanted to, set my sights further. In the last couple of years, I have led 7 successful campaigns for city council seats in Ithaca, New York, which is a small town. It's not big and shiny like a lot of our big city chapters, but that kind of like But what we do in DSA is we build where we are. Our local chapters are the lifeblood of the organization, and wherever you are, there's a campaign for democratic socialism that you can take. And so, and in doing that and building that program in Ithaca, what we were able to do is pass the biggest expansion in tenants' rights in over 50 years in our city. And that's the rights that we earned, the rights that we won. I've used myself, I've helped other people use, and they've changed what it's like to be like a person in Ithaca. It's made our lives more, just like a little bit easier to get through the day, a little bit easier to trust that we're going to have a roof over our heads. And in DSA, we're after that. We're after like making material gains for the working class and building our power. And we have a greater horizon of what would it be like if our economy and our government was actually fair, like, oh, like the whole thing, all the way through, not just little wins here and there. What if we transformed the world that we live in? And that's what we're doing. You know, when a couple of years ago, if you told people I'm trying to get socialists elected into political office, often they looked at you like you had two heads. And now, in the last month, 4 socialists have been elected to Congress. Like what we're doing is changing the direction of politics in the country in a way that is like building durable power for our movement and like changing the horizon of what we can expect from our government and in our lives, like in the actual like fairness and conditions that we live in, which is like really cool. It's like really inspiring and really wonderful. And so I think that I'm going to talk like a little bit about one of the structural things in DSA. A lot of people ask us, especially when we win big like this, is DSA a political party? Are you part of the Democratic Party? What's the deal? And we often run in the Democratic Party primaries in the races that we run in, because the voters in the Democratic primaries like socialism, like that we're going to a voter base that is hungry for the kind of change that we're proposing, and we are filling that niche that the Democratic Party is not. And the United States is like a really weird party system. This is like getting a little bit in the nerdy weeds, but like the truth is that it's really hard to have a third party in the US right now. And so we act like a party, we govern like a party, we drive conflict in the Democratic Party. And in many ways, we just are a political party. And one of those ways that it's not is often on our ballot line. But we're also more than just an electoral machine. We also have substantial work in the labor movement. We have legislative advocacy. We govern together. When we take office, we do issue and pressure campaigns. We provide a like social and community space, and many of our chapters like have either issue-based like community organizing, or like my chapter has a garden that we grow in, and that just like helps us also invest in the kind of community and like belief in humanity that it requires to be socialist. Like you have to trust people and rely on each other to be socialist and see the good in people. So if I could, I'm gonna land the plane a little bit with some more like crisp definitions than just storytelling. So could somebody bring the slides back up, and I'll share some of our details. So the Democratic Socialists of America is a national political organization that is funded and run democratically by 100,000 members. This is like, when we're talking about the power that we're building, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from our energy and our dues money coming together and building an organization that only we control. Nobody else is paying the bills. Nobody else can hold the donations over our head. We are deciding what we do. And we're seeking to build a mass movement to transform our society and economy together into one that's fair and democratic. And that means rebalancing power from corporate elites, from the billionaires, and putting it in the hands of everyday people and organizing the multiracial working class. And could I have to the next slide? So socialism is like a word that sometimes doesn't get like clarified. So socialism for us is a system that's based on egalitarianism. It's a system where every person has dignity, where our basic needs are met. We have respect and equal rights and social rights amongst ourselves, despite whatever our background is, or however we live. We have fairness, that the fruits of our labor belong to us and not the billionaires. Under socialism, the the top 1% doesn't take all the profits. We share in what we earn, and what we build together. And lastly, we have democracy, where like the government actually represents our needs and our interests, where it's not, you can't just buy an election. Like we see time and time again, when billionaires are trying to buy our elections. And under a true democracy, that wouldn't happen. We would have real representation and laws that actually suit like what we want to happen. And so it's pretty cool, right? I think it's like a lot of the values that a lot of people have. And yet like messaging campaigns have turned so many people against socialism, because they think it's like a scary thing, or that it involves authoritarianism, or or that they'll lose out. But actually what it is like all of us winning together. So if this sounds good and you're not already a member, some folks are going to spam the join link in the chat, because you have to become a member if you want to see this happen. If you want an economy that's fair, you have to join DSA and organize with us and be a part of it, because it takes all of our effort to change the whole world. Like it's we'll hear these stories from our friends who've won big these last few months. And all of them are just because people decided to do it. Like people decided that they wanted to make a change, and they worked hard, and they got their people together, and they made hard asks, and they made it happen. And so that's what you need to do too, if you want this vision to become a reality. And I'll pass it back to our hosts.
Thank you, Katie. That was wonderful. So next up, can we go to the next slide? Oh, okay. It's not there. Wonderful. No, you can go back. Sorry. So next up, we're going to hear from our nationally endorsed congressional candidate out of Philly, DSA. He's a professional cartwheeler, hype man, and now the Democratic Socialist nominee for Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District in 2026. So give it up to Chris Rabb.
Hey folks, how y'all doing? This is Rep Rab out of Philly, and it's so good to be on the call with all of you. My goodness, there's a lot of people here. I wish I could see all your faces. I cannot tell you how hype I am for all of you and for what DSA has been a part of in such a methodical, passionate, creative way. Who would have thought that a Gen X, neurospicy, anti-establishment, reparationist, democratic socialist could win in the bluest congressional district in the fucking nation? Well, I guess some of you knew, but we proved them. We beat the establishment by 15 points. My closest opponent was the former chair of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party and son of a popular mayor. But we did the work, all of us. And I cannot thank you all so much. I mean, how you all showed up for me inspired how I showed up for everyone else after my victory on May 19th. And it really wasn't my victory, it's our victory. And not just for the good people of the Pennsylvania 3rd on the left side of Philly, but for all of us, because I am proud to be your prospective bonus rep in Congress. And I am so thrilled that we will have other bonus reps to share. Whether it's Mai in California, Melat in Colorado, Claire and Dari in New York, Adam Hamawi in New Jersey. So many folks who were like giving me inspiration. And we don't do this alone. We show up in movement. And this is the first time in my long political career that folks are having conversations about structural and systemic issues in ways that traditional Democrats don't, and the electoral process punishes. And I am so excited to be in movement with all of you. What we pulled off in Philadelphia was seismic in terms of its impact and resonance, not just in Philly, but beyond. And what this means for DSA is aggressive fabulosity, because DSA's fingerprints were all over this win and so many other victories around the country. And I'm here for it, not just as a candidate, a progressive candidate, but as someone who seeks to serve in Congress, because what it takes to be a progressive in Congress, what it takes to be a democratic socialist in Congress, what it takes to be a troublemaker, an agitator, a badass in Congress is radically harder than what it takes to win an election. And as hard as it was, the work that we have left to do in terms of governance and leading is so much more consequential. You have gotten us into power, or we are headed in that direction for those of us who do not have a significant general to worry about. The question is, what do we do with this collective power? How do we co-govern? How do we love on each other in the most meaningful ways to protect each other, to stand up shoulder to shoulder? This is the work. And I got to tell you, folks, I need your help. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the level of exposure to violence and violent threats that I have received throughout this campaign, but certainly after our victory on May 19th. I need your protection. I need your collective strength and care. We have to show up for each other in all the most meaningful ways. This is real. And people are mad as hell, and I love it. Because we're scaring folks in all the most meaningful ways. If we weren't a threat, why would they be spending all this time coming at us? And I love it. That means that we are definitely on the right side of history. We're doing the right thing, but we have to stay focused, avoid the noise, and work toward shared prosperity and collective liberation. That's what this is all about, and we are going to do it. I am so proud to be a member of DSA. I am so proud to have earned the endorsement both out of Philly DSA and national. I'm so proud of how you all have continued to show up. And look, I'm so glad to be in such good company. This is really a powerful and growing and diversifying community that I really, truly am all very much invested in. And in 1951, a group of African Americans petitioned the UN to charge the United States government with genocide. That was tough. In 1951, as African Americans, three of those people were W.E.B. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, and my great uncle, George B. Murphy Jr. This is a legacy I take very seriously when we have to speak truth to power when it matters most, but not just speak it. We need to organize, and that's what you all do best, and I'm here for it. So I'm gonna leave it there, but I just want to say, please know that as inspiring as I may have been to some of you, your collective inspiration for me is very, very important. I see y'all. I love you. I'm here for you. Let's do the thing, folks.
Thank you so much, Rep Rob. We appreciate you more than you know. So we're gonna get the slides back up momentarily while I move into our next speaker. So I wanted to just point something out that I think is a little fun here. The picture on the left is a canvas of Denver DSA in 2021. Ahmed, Andrew, and I were all Denver DSA members at the time. We are three of the people standing there. And then you can see in comparison to what it is like now, a few weeks ago at a Milat Kiros campus. So things are happening. We're moving up. We are organizing. You can see right there the difference in the amount of people just in the last few years. And so with that, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. We're going to hear from the candidate herself who just unseated a 15-term incumbent do-nothing Democrat in the primary by 13 percentage points. Diana DeGette had been in office since the year Milat was born, and now Denver will have a representative who actually understands the needs of the working class and the urgency we need to bring to Congress. So give it up for Milat Kiros.
Hey y'all. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. I'm I always hate following up Chris because he just drops all of the beautiful words, the knowledge, the inspiration for what we got to do. I know a lot of y'all know that Chris got to join us in Denver for our very last canvas and for the victory night. And that's what it means to show up. That's what it means to stand in solidarity with one another, because this isn't about just one campaign. This is a movement that we're building. And so, Chris, thank you so much. I love you so much. To everybody that's here, y'all are amazing. Oh my goodness. Over 600 people that are on this call. This is incredible. To be totally honest with you, I'm still in a state of shock. We were really proud and excited about the campaign that we've been running over the last year. But to win with a margin of 13 points is just a shock to me, to everyone in this city, and certainly to the entire country. The work and the organizing that DSA specifically was able to do here in Denver, and then when we were able to get the endorsement of National DSA and all the phone banks that were happening from all corners of the country, y'all, there were 6,500 volunteers on this campaign, over 115,000 doors knocked, and over 500,000 phone calls made across this entire district. When you hear those numbers, then it's like, yeah, the 13-point margin, it starts to make a little bit of sense. And I want to be clear, what we've done with this campaign, what we've organized as DSA, is proof, is absolute, unwavering proof that people can run for office with just grassroots support and meaningfully combat the corporate special interest, dark money that pours into these races to try and silence voices like ours, that tries to keep, democratic socialists out of office, that tries to keep renters out of office, that tries to keep immigrants out of office, because we know better than anyone in the establishment, anyone in leadership, what we need to do in order to heal this democracy, in order to fight for working families, and in order to address the unfettered concentration of wealth of the billionaires and the corporations and the elite. What we're doing is just one small step in this much larger movement that we are all engaging in to fight for working families, to fundamentally reorganize our economy and our government around moral, conviction and values and clarity. And I think we've proven over these last few races that we are a force to be reckoned with. And I could not be more honored to be a DSA member, to have been endorsed by Denver DSA and National DSA. I want to speak really, really briefly to when I think things, really made a difference in this race, and when we started moving in a trajectory where our win was starting to get more and more probable. And that was during our caucus and assembly process. And, we nearly didn't even go through our caucus and assembly process. For folks who aren't familiar, Colorado, you can either get on the ballot through petition or you can go through caucus and assembly. Caucus and assembly takes cumulatively 14 hours over the course of several weeks, several weekends. If you're a wage worker, if you are a parent of kids, if you are anybody that is just trying to scrape by and survive in this economy right now, spending that kind of time in that kind of a democratic process is not easy. And so this is a process that is honestly largely meant to protect incumbents, and is really used to really amplify the voice of party insiders. But after we got the DSA endorsement, and we spoke with our friends and our comrades, and it became clear that we were going to be able to organize in a way that we could meaningfully show up at caucus and potentially win. And not only did we win, we won with 63% of the vote. And in the final round, we took 67% of the vote. And DeGette was nearly taken off the ballot by just 6 votes. 6 votes, and she wouldn't have even been a candidate for this race. That was DSA. That was quite literally the DSA difference in this race. That is what got us so much more attention, so much more, frankly, respect from a lot of people that didn't think there was a chance in hell for this campaign to succeed, and really excited a lot of people because it was the first piece of evidence that we actually do have agency. We actually do have power, and we have the ability to talk to our friends, to our coworkers, to, people that live in this district about the kind of world that we want to live in, the kind of leadership that we want to have, and the policies we want them to fight for. And we carried that over for the last 4-5 months or so and built up this movement, this infrastructure that the state of Colorado, frankly, has never seen for a congressional campaign. And we made history. And I could not be more honored to have done it alongside every single one of you. I know so many folks here made calls for us, knocked on doors for us, made all of the difference in the world in helping us not only win, but dominate with a 13 point, I don't know, votes are still coming in, 13.3 margin, I think, right now. It is absolutely incredible. And the work, frankly, is just beginning. We've got incredible wins across the board right now, but we've still got folks that we got to come out with and support. And, we've got Maya, we've got Donovan, and we've got Justin, and, all of these people that are committed to the same values, the same, commitment to getting rid of this oligarchy and fighting for working families again and fundamentally reorganizing our economy and our government. I'm so excited to be working alongside you all, especially as we, maybe get ourselves a little Socialists in Office caucus going in Congress. There's so much work to be done, and I just can't express my gratitude enough. Thank you all so much for everything that you did to support my campaign, to support Rep. Rab's campaign, and all the work that we have going forward as well. It's an honor to be here with you all.
Thank you so much. We are so excited for you, and I cannot believe how much FOMO I had not being there this weekend. So passing it, or to the next speaker, we're gonna welcome the New York City DSA's Bronx and Upper Manhattan representative, James I, who's gonna talk about the massive slate victories, the possibility of socialist governance, and how New York City got to where they are now. James, take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so we had a bunch of major victories in New York City last week. Our state slate, we swept. We won 9 out of 10 seats, and we got 2 congressional seats in New York City. So this was a very long process to get where we are. So our first state SIO, we got elected back in 2018 in Julia Salazar in Brooklyn. So starting in 2018, we elected Julia Salazar in the state Senate, AOC in Congress, and we spent many years methodically expanding our ranks throughout the city and really consolidating specific areas. We've ran back in 2020. We ran a whole slate of candidates in Queens, in Brooklyn, including as then Assembly candidate Zoran Mamdani. In 2021, we were able to get a few council seats. And then through 2022 and through 2024, we were able to expand our footprint further and further into the state legislature. We take a very methodical approach when we're picking districts to run in. We pick districts that, one, tend to have very progressive voting record, and we also pick districts where we have a high member concentration. So one, they're districts where they tend to be more amenable to our message, broadly speaking, and then they are also areas where we have a large volunteer pool that we can really take out. We can really tap into to run the campaign. Like the way we run our campaigns is DSA members are really integrated into the campaign. They are the campaign managers. They are the field directors. They are the field leads. They are really, when we say we're running the campaign, we mean we are physically running the campaign. Now, this we kept making progress until 2025, where we decided to run Zohran Mamdani for mayor. And he came in as the underdog, where he was polling at 1%, and then he ended up winning the mayoral primary in an upset landslide, huge engagement of like young voters, huge expansion of the electorate. So that brings us into 2026. So we were able to get a lot of data from Zohran's win. We literally knocked over 1 million doors in the primary, and we got over 1 million votes in the general. So we had countless IDs that we were able to, as countless IDs and a lot of data on like on which districts are more favorable for our vision. So we use that data to figure out where we're going to run in 2026. So we found districts where Zohran had won, our message had resonated, and we felt we could win, and started deliberately recruiting candidates there. And that's how we got a lot of our state slate. Now, what we also happened is we began to run 2 congressional campaigns. Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez retired, and she represents the area we call our commie corridor, which is basically the most left-leaning part of the city, which consistently votes for progressives, consistently votes for DSA candidates, has extremely high membership concentration. So Zohran Mamdani endorsed our SIO, Assemblywoman Claire Valdez, in us to run for that open seat. And this was very important for us because our opponent in that race was Antonio Reynoso, who was more of like the traditional, like progressive, the Brooklyn Borough president. So that race was very important to really make that socialist versus progressive distinction. And that message really resonated. We were able to win that race by over 20 points, running on an unapologetically socialist campaign, and send Claire to Congress. Now, in Upper Manhattan, the story is a little different. So it was not an open race. So we had a candidate, Darylisa Villa Chevalier, who wanted to challenge the incumbent, Adriano Espaillat. So this is Upper Manhattan is not what we call the commie corridor. It's what we call the commie cradle, where it is a more left-leaning area, but it's definitely not. It doesn't have the same DSA infrastructure that like Northern Brooklyn, Western Queens do. It's very much like a potential area that has like a lot of a lot of left leanings, but like still needs to be more organized. She was running against the boss of the local uptown machine, the Dominican machine, Adriano Espaillat. Adriano Espaillat was the first Dominican member of Congress and built his like local Dominican machine, his squadriano, as it's sometimes called, local Dominican electeds. So this was a really big swing for us in going against the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, one of the local machine bosses. And one thing that was very unique about this campaign is how we were able to electoralize Palestine. Adriano Espaillat was a very took a lot of AIPAC money, and the fact that like he took AIPAC money, that kept consistently coming up at the doors. AIPAC money is very toxic to Dems right now. Palestine is one of the top issues we heard when we were talking to people, and Darylisa was running on a platform of babies not bombs. So instead of spending money to like wage war in Iran, commit genocide in Gaza, we spend that money here at home investing in healthcare, education, housing, and that message really resonated with people uptown. Well, uptown people are tired of the wars. People are really supported her vision of like investing at home instead of bombing people abroad. And ultimately, we were able to prevail in that race. So we were able to win both Claire's race and Lisa's race, both of them running as unapologetic socialists, both of them running on explicitly anti-Zionist campaigns, and that really resonated with people in the city. And these were also, I really want to emphasize, like all of our campaigns, these are DSA led campaigns. You had DSA leaders who were running field, who were us, who were CMs, who were doing comms. We make sure that we're not just like sending people to knock doors. We're actually using our campaigns as a way to build new leaders, build new skills, so that we're not just like getting a person to office. We're really building the movement, and we can take whatever win we have and we can create, it makes it a generative win where the volunteers we get from the campaign come out with more skills they can use in other organizing aspects and really expand the footprint, really expand and really expand our territory in New York City. It's a very deliberate, methodical strategy of how we can really do the socialist vision in NYC. And I'm actually like very proud to see that we are going to be sending two members of Congress. Claire is an incredible labor organizer who will fight working people. Lisa spent her adult life fighting for the Palestinian rights movement. Spent much of her time I'm fighting for the rights of immigrants, especially fighting against family separation during Trump 1. And she's going to be an incredible fighter for immigrants when we are in time where ICE has become like a Trump's Gestapo.
Thank you, James. I know we all really want to make sure we can replicate what you all are doing in every chapter across this country. And we will. So next up, we're gonna hear from, sorry, just got some background noise. Okay. Next up, we're gonna hear from Brandon Macia. Brandon is the UAW Region 9A Director and helped mobilize thousands of members across New York's 7th Congressional District to help deliver a victory for New York's working class by electing one of their union's own member leaders, Claire Valdez, to Congress. So Brandon, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Haley, and thanks, James, and thank you all for being on this call. My name is Brandon Mancia. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Regional Director for UAW Region 9A. We represent 50,000 members across the northeastern United States and Puerto Rico. We're part of the mighty UAW International, which is a million active and retired members across the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico. So it's so good to be here with you all. I think there's no such thing as a socialist movement, and there's definitely never going to be a socialism if it does not have the working class as its engine, as its base of power, because ultimately socialism is about realizing a society that works for the working class and where working class people have the power, right, as a class. And so that's the project of building a labor movement in this country and around the world, right? A working class movement that is able to organize itself, build power on the shop floor, at work, in our communities, and also be able to take political power and use that for our interests. And that begins, really at the core of it by building up our unions. Unions are one of the only, possibly the only organization in the entire country that is a democratic engine for working class people to participate in and take power and control over their lives. What is the working class? The working class is all of us who have to work for a living, who have a boss, who are not able to negotiate over our very working and living conditions, our wages, our healthcare, all these things that other people are deciding for us. Unions are the way that we are able to actually build power and have a say over all of these things. And so the UAW have been following us the last 3 or 4 years. We've been very busy trying to revive the labor movement because, again, there won't be a political movement in this country that is able to reverse inequality, that is able to win universal health care, that is able to win real retirement security, if there isn't a strong labor movement. So the UAW, one of the historic unions in the United States, with still a ton of leverage and power over the U.S. economy, has been doing three things over the last few years. One, we've been fighting for strong contracts, which is at the minimum what we should be doing as a union. Two, we've been organizing the unorganized. We finally were able to win a historic victory at Volkswagen in Tennessee. We've also organized thousands and tens of thousands of workers in higher education, in nonprofits and legal services, and other manufacturing sectors. But the third thing is what I'm here to talk about, which is what it means to build political power as a union. To me, that comes down to two things, which is what we've been working on. The first is to have an actual political program that is led by our members for our members' interests and for the interests of the working class. And it's so many of the issues that have been talked about here today, right? It's about wages, it's about healthcare, it's about real retirement security, it's about work-life balance and winning a 32-hour work week. It's about ending forever wars and funding our essential social services and social safety net with the money that's otherwise used for bombs and for genocide abroad. It's about standing up for all workers. And so as a union, we need to build that political program and be able to stand up for all of our members and the entire working class. But then there's the second part of that, which is why I think it's so important that we're having this call, which is that it is our understanding that no one is going to be a better fighter for the working class than those workers who have had the experience standing up for their coworkers and standing up for the working class in their unions. Why? Because Claire Valdez, as a UAW member, was a rank and file member who got involved in her union. She got elected to her bargaining committee, stood up against the billion-dollar university, which is Columbia University, defended and represented her members, her fellow coworkers, against an incredibly repressive university. She was able to take that leadership to the next level, which is to go beyond the workplace and into the state assembly. We alongside DSA recruited her to run for state assembly. And so when the opportunity arose for after Nydia Velasquez's retirement, we saw no greater opportunity for us to build this theory and make it real than to have Claire Valdez step forward as a socialist, as a democratic socialist, and as a labor rank and file organizer and take the fight into Congress. Similarly, Daria Lisa, her life story, she'll tell you it over and over again. There's a stark difference between the jobs that she's worked that have been union and non-union. Recently, she has been working as a investigator for a public defense organization that is also represented by the UAW in New York City. And so, as a movement and as a union, we've gone to a place that had zero UAW members in Congress. Now, hopefully, given that the general election is all but settled in New York City, next January, we will be having 2 rank and file UAW members serving in Congress so that we can fight for all of our priorities and all of our, demands as a working class movement. And so I just want to wrap up here by saying again that this story does not need to be limited to the UAW, nor does it need to be limited to New York City. This is a story that I think can play out all over the country. This marriage between DSA and labor is essential for building power for both of our movements because they should not be two movements, they should be one. And so this is the best way to activate a huge base of union members who are disgruntled by the political culture in this country. This is a great way to activate politically and raise the consciousness of many working class people who are disillusioned with this country's politics and do not yet have the path to a union given the state of things and labor law in this country. We need to be recruiting union members to run for office, even better when they are also DSA members. And so the last thing I'll say is that the next step is building, right? It's being serious about these great wins that we were able to achieve and being serious about governing and winning. Claire and Daria should not be exceptions. They should be the new rule for us. And I think as a UAW, we will continue to, recruit from our own membership to run for office. But we need, the rest of you all to also, and other unions, to do the same. Because again, there's studies that show, and I think Jacobin has published, that one, unions are a credible source of information for working class people on politics, but even more so when union members run for political office. Um, they are seen as a lot more credible to working class people because they understand the fight and the grind that those folks have been through in order to represent and stand up for their coworkers. So I leave you all with that. Solidarity forever. The UAW is proud to be in this fight with you. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Brandon. As a union staffer myself, this stuff gets me really excited. So now I'm going to pass it over to my comrade, one of our YDSA co-chairs, who's going to explain first off what YDSA is and share a little bit more about how to get involved there.
Hi all, thank you so much. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Brandon. My name is Sarah, she, her. I am the YDSA National Co-Chair. And I joined DSA in 2020 after Bernie's drop because I wanted to build a working class movement, and I didn't think that the Democratic Party was housing the momentum from that time. In my hometown of Orlando, Florida, I got involved with labor and tenant organizing. And when I went to college, I dove right into organizing and organized the first referendum on my campus at Cornell University for divesting from the war machine, faced suspension for my involvement in the nation's first career fair disruption, organized student solidarity for striking UAW 2300 workers on campus, and led Cornell YDSA through our first electoral endorsement, where we seated the youngest socialist in office in US history to Ithaca City Council just last November. And if you told me 6 years ago that I would have done any of that, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. And so to imagine that some of you, and I feel like some of you might even feel that way right now, but the first step is always just joining and getting involved. And I'm so glad that we're all here, 600 of us, learning through that and taking the first step together. So enough about me. I want to talk about YDSA. Could we get the slides up? So YDSA is the youth wing of DSA. We organize students on campuses across the country. We have over 5,000 members and over 160 chapters, making us the largest progressive youth organization in the country. And we're using this power to fight ICE in our communities, big tech, and for a free Palestine and a better world in our future. And we know that our future is in our hands right now. We're done letting politics go on as usual when we've faced multiple recessions in our lifetimes, mountains of college debt, and now face an entire industry working to replace our jobs. After repeated failures of the Democratic Party to heed our desires in the encampments, to fund our futures and not bombs, we have taken our fight from the Quad to Congress, with record turnout electing the most progressive Congress people we've seen in a generation. And that's because we are the driving force behind races like Rep. Rab, Malat, and Daryalisa. And that's not just happening at the federal level, it's happening locally too. From Berkeley to Burlington, YDSA members are running for local office in college towns. And through our wins in these student majority districts, our city councilors are leading the fight for affordability and against ICE, data centers, genocide, and so much more. And so if you want to build a more powerful youth movement, please join YDSA. It's at the same exact link that people have been dropping. And every YDSA member is a member of DSA. And if you don't have a YDSA chapter, you can start one at your school at dsausa.us/new YDSA, and the link will be in the chat. Thank you so much, and I will pass it off to Andrew.
Hi, everyone. My name's Andrew. I'm a member of Denver DSA and also a member of our national leadership body, the National Political Committee. I'm going to be touching on how you can get involved locally a little bit today. As a democratic organization built from the bottom up, there's over 200 chapters across the country in nearly every state building towards socialism. Your local chapter is where your organizing will most likely start, but the most important part of getting involved in DSA for the fight for a better world is joining. If you aren't already a member, join and become a dues-paying member today at the link shared in the chat. The second most important step is finding your chapter to connect with amazing organizers organizing for socialism in your country and in your community. You can find your chapter at the link shared in the chat as well. To reach out to your local steering committee to learn more specifically about how you can get involved to organize in your community. And trust me, there's more organizing to do, and it doesn't stop after the elections. If you don't see a chapter in your area, no problem. You can consider starting one. Even though there are chapters all across the country, we still don't cover everywhere. And if we're going to paint the map red, we need your help to spread the vision of socialism, one of putting our economy and society under the democratic control and in the hands of the workers to places it might not be yet. If there isn't a chapter in your area, that's where the fun organizing begins, but you won't be able to do it alone. Talk to your friends, neighbors, coworkers, people in your community about what frustrates them in your local community and how organizing a DSA chapter could build the community and bonds necessary to change that. You can learn more about organizing a new chapter by looking at our resources in our new chapters page shared on our website, and that link will also be in the chat. Our chapters are the roots of DSA that help to spread the vision of a better world across the country and are organizing year-round to make that possible. Chapters don't just engage in getting members involved in running for office and participating in elections, like mine in Denver. In Denver, for years, we've been supporting people trying to organize their workplace through a local emergency workplace organizing committee. Shout out EWOC. It's a national project that you'll hear more about later, helping people to organize in their workplace. We've also been organizing in a local Palestine Solidarity Coalition for years to support a free Palestine. Back one more slide, please. In New Orleans, DSA, they're connecting with local mutual aid groups to host free brake light clinics to connect with their neighbors. In the birthplace of sewer socialism in my home state, Milwaukee DSA is running a campaign to transform their monopoly investor-owned utility into one owned by the public. Philly DSA is running a local boycott, divest, and sanctions movement campaign called No Appetite for Apartheid, where over 20 businesses have already agreed to not sell Israeli goods or produce complicit in Israeli apartheid. Tampa and Pinellas, down in Florida, are hosting a community cookout and political education event to bring attention to the nearly 70-year U.S. blockade against Cuba. Now you can go to the next slide. There's even more. Comrades in South Jersey mobilized support to support community members detained at the Delaney Hall ICE facility to demand its closure and their freedom after they launched a hunger strike. Inland Empire members are supporting efforts in one of the biggest labor fights in our history for organizing Amazon. In Twin Cities, DSA is organizing against the expansion of the militarized police state and to abolish ICE. There's lots to do in your local chapters. Please consider and get involved. The more the many, and we need all the help that we can get. Now I'm going to pass it over to Michaela, who's going to go over our exciting platform and political vision for transforming the country. Workers deserve more.
Hi, comrades. My name is Michaela. I am the chair of National Political Education Committee and also one of the co-chairs of the Workers Deserve More Program Committee. I want to see a lot of hype to thank our brave speaker, Mike Johnson, for giving us all this incredible promotion ahead of time for our program. Let's all hear it for Mike Johnson. Woo! All right. So many of you may have seen a lot of the hype from a lemons into lemonade situation where the text of our upcoming revised Workers Deserve More program was leaked. The right tried to make a big deal out of it, and the big deal was made, but everyone was like, oh my God, DSA is so amazing. And they made their own promos and stuff, but the launch is not here yet. Next slide, please. So get ready for the main attraction. Our revised program is coming out very soon. On July 14th, we're having the launch. And I just want to say a few words about how we made this. This was the fruits of a resolution that I authored and had some co-authors on for convention last year that continued Workers Deserve More, but basically strove to update it for the political moment by getting people from across the country, rank and file members, representatives of the different national committees, and some of our political leadership to come together as a committee. And since April, we have been working on finding basically like consensus. I don't know if any of you are writers in the chat, but writing as a group is very difficult, as you might imagine. But it was actually one of the most pleasurable experiences I've ever had in DSA, is meeting weekly, mostly weekly, with my comrades from across the organization. We're a multi-tendency organization, and we actually came to something that I feel extremely proud of. I'm so proud of our committee. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to launch this, officially into the world. And just kind of a word on the DSA difference and the why we need a program question. We've tried over several years to come to some kind of platform. A couple of years ago, we came up with the Workers Deserve More idea, like a pamphlet, and it really took off. And the reason why it took off was because people used it to organize. It wasn't just a statement of our principles, even though it is that. It also is a way to inspire us in DSA and also to communicate our ideas to the rest of the world in language that they can understand and get behind, in kind of this beautiful package. As you can see, we have like some major planks, but thriving working class communities, a working class foreign policy, and working class democracy will all have different demands, many of which you will find to be incredibly familiar to you if you're a member of DSA, but also if you have been interested in the left for the last 10 years, you'll be finding things like free Palestine, self-determination, Finnish Reconstruction, justice for working class communities all across the country, as well as various other kinds of ways that we have expanded the ambit. We have a section on feminism now. We also have a whole section that talks about what it actually means to live in a democratic society. We organize that such that it doesn't just mean that you can vote, which it of course means, and expanding the franchise is a huge part of this, but it's also about having democratic control in your workplace. As Brandon Mencia has so eloquently put, we need to put the working class first, right? And all of us are workers unless you're independently wealthy, if you're part of the working class, right? And this goes for all of our comrades, abled or people with disabilities, our trans brothers and sisters, everyone who is trying to make it in life. And we want to see that dignity, democracy, and the fruits of our labor be shared equally. And we want to be free. So that's actually the emphasis that we're placing, is freedom. We're going to reclaim freedom from the right. We're going to take away their Project 2025, turn it on its ass, and really actually go for it this year. So please, next slide. I just want to plug that we are going to launch this online on July 14th, and we're going to have a mass call. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to have Emma Vigland from the Majority Report emceeing. Hopefully we'll get a few other special guests on there. And we're going to talk to everyone about the program, how to use it and what to do next, and why it's so important for us when we're building the party to have something like this that we can not just refer to, but also think about, to engage with, to do political education around. So thanks so much. And I just want to kick it over to Sid Carlson White, a member of the NPC, who's going to talk about what's happening on the NEC, the National Electoral Commission. Thanks all.
Thank you. Thank you, Michaela. It is really important to talk about the program because DSA's program, in addition to defining our vision for the world, also defines how we want to do electoral work as well. So I'm Sid Carlson White. I'm a member of DSA's National Political Committee, and I'm also a liaison to the National Electoral Commission, which means that I work a lot with our electoralists all across the country who are fighting for the campaigns, some of which you heard from today. So what does the National Electoral Commission do? Well, we help coordinate DSA's electoral work on a national scale. Why do we do this? Because elections are about way more than just legislating, right? We want to use the political offices we win to present a vision for how we are going to transform society along the course of that program that Michaela just talked about. We're not just here for crumbs. We're not just here to change a few numbers in the tax code. We want democracy for the working class, right? So in order to do that, we need a movement that is able to coordinate on a nationwide scale and work with chapters all across the country to carry out our political goals. So what do we do on the NEC? Well, the first thing that we do is that we make national endorsements. When a chapter endorses a candidate, as many of you might know, they can submit that candidate to the National Electoral Commission for an endorsement. And we have a deliberative interview process where we ask the candidate some difficult questions about their beliefs on Palestine, how their campaign is going, how DSA is operating the campaign. And the National Electoral Commission Steering Committee then takes a vote on whether or not to make that endorsement. The NEC fundraises. Our Socialist Cash Takes Out Capitalist Trash initiative. We've got Bud here with his little bag of money. It's actually a big bag of money. We've raised $80,000 for state and local campaigns across the country, and congressional campaigns too. And $80,000 might not sound like a lot when Jeff Bezos and his billionaire friends can cut massive checks to corporate Democrats whenever they want. But it turns out when you have people power and when you're as good at running campaigns as DSA is, you can put that money to use and smaller dollar donors will beat the big dollar slush funds. So we do a lot of fundraising. We also do a lot of campaign support. You just heard from Maylot Kiros. DSA made 250,000 calls for Maylot, and a lot of those calls were coordinated by the National Electoral Commission. Why are we able to do this? Because we are able to take DSA members from all across the country and say, now is the time to throw down for this race, to build DSA. And the reason that we can do that is because we have a political program, a political vision that means that people in New York, in Tampa Bay, in the Twin Cities understand that when we send someone like Maylot or send someone like Chris Rabb to Congress, they're going to be making laws that affect all of us. And we want to show that we can be the political voice that determines the future of these campaigns and how they govern. The other thing that we do is we develop chapters. We have chapters all across the country who are engaged in their first electoral project this year. We have a wonderful team of leaders and we have a wonderful electoral staffer. Monday, we're going to have 2 electoral staffers who are going to be able to talk to you and your chapter about how to carry out a campaign that can actually take out the capitalist trash. Again, DSA is one of the most clever groups with the deepest knowledge on how to run elections like this. The Working Families Party can't do this. The individual progressive groups, they can't do something like we can do. What we are doing is building a nationwide project from the ground up. So at this point, you might be wondering how to join the NEC. If you want to join the NEC, if you have significant campaign experience, whether that's you were a field lead, whether you were a communications coordinator, whether you sent a lot of emails, maybe whether you've done a lot of phone banking already, you can scan this QR code and it is going to take you to the sign up for the NEC form. Of course, you already have to be a DSA member to sign up for the NEC, but being on the NEC means you get to participate in endorsement deliberations. You get to ask the interview questions if you want to show up for them. And of course, it means you can support DSA's program from literally anywhere in the country. A lot of you I know just finished wonderful campaigns in New York, campaigns in Colorado. There's still a lot of work to be done, and the NEC helps coordinate that. But of course, there are lots of other ways to get involved too. Right now is the time that your chapter should be thinking about the 2027 and 2028 elections. It's early, but again, DSA thinks in years and decades, not news cycles. So if you have a candidate that you think that you want to run for any office, now is the time to think about how you want to do that. Reach out to nec@dsacommittees.org to reach out to us and begin the process of figuring out how you're going to run a campaign. Maybe you yourself are going to be our next socialist in office. The NEC can support your chapter, but what we also can do is we can provide the national infrastructure that will allow you to take those bold positions, allow you to be fearless, and of course, allow you to carry out the goals of DSA's Workers Deserve More program. So why does this matter, right? We can't have socialism alone or in one place. We are pulling together nationwide because we know that is how we seize power for the working class. It's not just about winning elections. It's not just about organizing in your unions. It's not just about street protest. It's not just about tenant organizing. It is a holistic political vision that allows DSA to do all of the powerful things that it does. We run elections not just for legislation, but because we know the people that we send to office can be our best organizers, our best voices, and the best people for carrying out our political goals. We can't do this alone, and it's important to remember that no one has ever really attempted a nationwide electoral project like this since the time of the Socialist Party in the 1910s and 20s. We are embarking on something entirely new when we are building this new socialist bloc ready to take on the power of capitalism and anti-democracy in the United States right now. So where do we go from here? One of the things that we're doing is, as we're winning across the country, we are starting a Federal Socialists in Office Committee. This is going to be a committee that is able to engage with the people that we have sent to office and have deliberations around how DSA wants to carry out our political goals. You'll probably hear more about that in the future, but we are starting to rebuild this process where we are going to have ways to relate to the wonderful people we are sending to office. Melat, Chris Rabb are going to be in the belly of the beast. I can tell you, the Capitol Dome is one of the worst places to be. I've met some of those people. They're awful. They're going to have some terrible, terrible coworkers. It's on us as DSA to give them direction, to give them ideas, to give them the power to stand up to the capitalist class and carry out our political vision. What exactly someone is supposed to do as just one member of a legislative body is one of the oldest questions in socialism. The Germans struggled with it. Lenin struggled with it. Now we are going to struggle with it in the 21st century, and we're going to look to the people that came before us, to previous socialist movements, to understand how we are going to carry out these goals. We have many more endorsements, more campaigns, and more discussions about the role electoral politics play coming in the future. So I really hope you stay tuned, you check your inbox, and pay attention. And of course, maybe you are our next socialist in office. Look up your city council person, look up your state legislators, look up your congresspeople. I can guarantee you, you will probably do a better job at that than they are doing right now. And that's why we have the National Electoral Commission, so we can do it all together. I'm going to pass it now to Shayna to talk about how to get involved in our labor work.
Thanks so much, Sid. Hey everyone, it's so great to be with you tonight and celebrate our wins from New York City to Denver to Philly. Like Sid said, I'm Shayna, one of the co-chairs of the NLC, or DSA's National Labor Commission. I'm also a public elementary school teacher here in Oakland, California, and a proud union member. For those who are new to DSA, welcome. I'm so excited to see so many new members here, including my mom, who I think is on this call. Like you all, I have been inspired by the wave of socialists on their way to Washington to fight for the working class, as Sid just described. And just like lots of us, many of these socialist electeds began their political education and their organizing as rank and file union members, talking to their coworkers and organizing to raise their wage, expand their benefits, and win political protections on the job. But what is the National Labor Commission, or the NLC? The NLC is DSA's national body that coordinates and supports our labor work. This ranges from strike solidarity to supporting workers who want to form a union to gearing up to meet UAW President Shawn Fain's call for mass action on May Day 2028. Our organization now has over 15,000 union members and thousands more organizing to win a union in their workplace. Come on and give a heart react if you're a union member so we can see the union power just here on this call tonight. As the NLC, we are focused on giving our members the organizing skills they need to talk with their coworkers, to take action, and win. We help our members coordinate across workplaces, cities, and industries, and we show up in solidarity with workers taking action across the country. Next slide, please, Sid. But why does labor matter? As socialists, we know our strongest tool to win the world we deserve is organized labor, or union power. We are most powerful when we stand together as workers, withhold our labor, and demand dignity, when we disrupt the status quo. We see this happening all the time. Auto workers and teachers striking for fair pay, workers across the Twin Cities striking to get ICE out, and Starbucks workers striking for a contract. There is a lot of work to be done to scale up these efforts and to build a general strike, and DSA is stepping up. Socialists have always played a crucial role in the labor movement, and this moment is no exception. We have seen tens of thousands of workers personally and politically transformed by the experience of taking action at work and winning democratic control over their lives. DSA members have been involved in virtually every exciting development in the labor movement over the last few years, from organizing to form a union at Starbucks and Amazon, to becoming local union leaders, to transforming the UAW, as you just heard Brandon describe. Next slide, please. So what does the NLC do? I want to take a moment just to highlight some of our specific projects so that you can find out how you can get involved. As I've mentioned, our Solidarity Captains Network is a group of NLC members across the country who lead solidarity efforts for local workplace actions. DSA has a long history of bringing meals to workers on strike, to chanting on their picket lines, and to meeting the needs of our local unions. Through this work, we show workers that they can count on DSA and that we are serious about our labor solidarity. We have our sights set on a mass worker action on May Day 2028, but it's going to take all of us organizing in our workplaces and in our DSA chapters. This year alone, 175 DSA chapters and tens of thousands of DSA members participated in a local May Day action. But as we prepare to scale up our efforts for May Day 2027 and 2028, we will need more members, more chapters, and more unions to join us in this fight, and that means you. Next slide, please, Sid. DSA is also supporting workers getting strategic jobs and learning how to organize with their coworkers. Our Workers Organizing Workers, or WOW program, is training a new generation of workplace organizers ready to take jobs in logistics, service, education, and manufacturing. Our Labor for an Arms Embargo campaign trains and educates union members to organize for Palestine with their coworkers and use their leverage to win an arms embargo. And DSA has long been leading the charge to organize Amazon warehouse workers and delivery drivers. I myself used to be an Amazon warehouse worker. Our project has taken off since the first Amazon union was formed in Staten Island in 2022. DSA now facilitates the largest network of Amazon workers in the country, providing the mentorship, political education, and skills trainings needed to grow the movement and win a contract at Amazon, with over 300 Amazon workers coming to Chicago for the Labor Notes Conference last month. We have a robust network of DSA teachers, of which I am a part, coordinating across locals and in their national unions. And DSA members have one union leadership and now lead teacher union locals from Washington, D.C. to Portland, Oregon. If this sounds interesting to you, if you believe in the power of organized labor, and if you are a union member, a union staffer, a member of your local labor group, join the NLC. A stronger NLC helps us build a stronger labor movement and strengthen our coordination in our unions. You'll be able to indicate your interest in any of the projects I just mentioned too, and so we'll be in touch with you and connect you to the right people. And this is for DSA members, so if you want to join the NLC and you're not yet a DSA member, join DSA too. Okay, last slide. Thanks. If those criteria don't apply to you, but what you're hearing from me or others on this call is sounding interesting and you want to join the labor movement, good news. There is no experience required to organize with your coworkers. You can reach out to me and the other NLC leaders via email. The email's on the screen right now, and I'll drop it in the chat. If you'd like to get a strategic job, if you're looking for work, if you want to learn how to organize, or if you want to just know what you can do to join the labor movement or support it. Again, it is so, so great to be here with you all. I am so happy to see so many new members. I'm going to pass it back to our DSA co-chairs, Megan and Ashik, to close us out for the night. Solidarity forever.
Special shout out to Shayna's mom. Extremely excited to have you as a member. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for bearing with us. If you are experiencing the heat wave where you are, I know exactly how uncomfortable you might be, but you're here and we had you here and you stayed the whole time, and we are so grateful for that. A thing that I saw a lot in the call, coming up in the chat, coming up in the Q&A, was folks saying, well, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not a professional, or I'm not a, guess what? None of us are. When I joined DSA, I was just a PTA mom. That's all I was. That's what I knew how to do. I was not trained in political stuff. I had never been a member of a union. I didn't know what I was doing. So you too can learn all of this stuff. All these things that seem way over your head, that seem hard, that seem confusing. That's what we're here to do. We're here to teach each other. This is a movement of just regular people, regular working class people who are committed to changing the world together. So I hope you will consider joining us. If you haven't already, get involved in your chapter if you have joined. And I will pass it to my co-chair, Ashik, who will bring us home.
All right, thanks to everybody who's staying on until almost 10 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, this call is called the DSA Difference. And just to drive it home, the DSA difference is that we are normal people who are running all this. When we run people for office and everybody who shows up to volunteer and canvas and shape messaging and strategy, more and more that's being done by all of us. We'll never have as much money as the billionaire class. The people who pour millions or even billions of dollars promoting the kinds of candidates who we are defeating in these primaries, like Diana DeGette, like I forgot who Chris Rabb's opponents were, Adriana Espaillat in New York. These people were backed up by a fundamentally different set of forces than we have. We are organizing working class people by and for each other, and they don't know how to handle that. They can't handle the fact that we're knocking on thousands more doors. We're talking to people in our communities and our workplaces, and that's what's motivating people. You heard from Brandon about how the workplace organizers show up for somebody like Claire because they see her on the picket line for years. They see what Mailat has been doing, what Chris Rabb has been doing in the communities, and they know they're for real because of that credibility. So when we organize as DSA, they're values-driven endorsements. We know people are going to stand with Palestine. They're going to stand against ICE. They're going to stand up for working class values, for universal public services that will handle cost of living. That's what we're about. So that's why Fox News is freaking out, or CNN, or whoever. They just don't understand that we're not funded by George Soros or whoever. We're funded by over 100,000 working class people across this country. So just in the past week, or since the New York primary day, over 8,000 people have joined DSA because they see what we're doing. We're shaking the establishment and we're building something fundamentally new in this country. And another huge DSA difference is that it's not about any one of us. I was motivated to join DSA in 2017 after I supported Bernie Sanders in his campaign. And when he said, not me, us, he meant it. And I think millions of people across the country heard that and felt it deeply. And so many of us who are here now, who are running for office, who are organizing, volunteering, it's not about any one of us. It's not about any one candidate. And our best candidates often would never have run for office unless dozens or even hundreds of people asked them repeatedly to do it. Like, I think you would be good at this. And they said no all those times until finally they were like, all right, there's an opening and enough people are supporting me and I'm going to be supported to do it, to do something I would never do otherwise. It's insane to run for Congress unless you're supported by a lot of people. So that's what we're about. Join DSA. I wish we had a little poll right now to ask you, over 400 people on this call on Zoom right now, if you're a DSA member. If you're not a DSA member, can you put in the chat if you are thinking about it? Let's see. Who's going to join DSA today? All right, not going to put you on the spot. Fine. But click the link, join right now, and we're going to keep growing. We just passed 100,000 members earlier this year. Soon we are going to be bigger than the largest socialist organization in US history, the Socialist Party over a century ago. And we can pass 150,000 members, we can pass 200,000 members. We can become an organization of millions of people, and that's what we really need to shake up the establishment. So we're now on track for 6 members of Congress, still counting. We have a few coming up. We have Cori Bush in St. Louis. We have Oliver Larkin in Florida, and a few more. Stay tuned. We'll have more news to come. So there will be a lot more to support. Primary season's going through August, so lots of chances to plug in, but it starts with becoming a DSA member if you're not already. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, comrades, solidarity, and yeah, do we have any closing?